Hey guys, it's Archon. Welcome to Inferno Friday. This week we actually got quite a bit of Reaper of Souls news. Most importantly, of course, we got the information on the newest patch to the PTR and beta client. I got some other posts I want to show you as well, but let's go ahead and get started with that. There's a lot of information on these patch notes, so I'm just going to go through the pieces that I found most exciting, but there's a link in the description if you want to go through the patch notes yourself. Go ahead. It starts off with the PTR patch notes and then it goes in the beta. So let's go ahead. The first thing that I found exciting was the classes section. There's a lot of stuff on here, but it's mostly just small changes. Again, read it if you want to. Starting with the Barbarian, it looks like the biggest change they're making here is they're adding a lot of fire and lightning damage to some of the runes that were only physical damage before, and I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know how much lightning and fire damage the Barb had before because I haven't played them much. A little bit of cold there, but it's mostly fire and lightning. And it's pretty much the same on the Demon Hunter and the Monk as well. Lots of new elemental damage to their runes. And I like this change. I think it's cool when they can find other ways to add synergy as well. But I think making different runes do different elemental type damage is one of the coolest ways to add synergy. It really works well with itemization, and I think it's a cool change. So I'm guessing they wanted to find other ways to make synergy, but this is just working so well that they're just turning it up to 11. Because why not? It's fun to stack one type of elemental damage and then make a build around it. And they've added a lot of synergy there, so that's pretty cool. As far as Witch Doctors, they gave a pretty big buff to two of the Fetish Army runes. A lot more damage from Tiki Tortures and Headhunters. A few other small changes there as well. And the Wizard got a pretty big nerf to the Archon spell. I haven't been using Archon in Reaper of Souls because it just didn't seem that much fun just being in it for 15 seconds. I guess I'm spoiled from vanilla D3, but I haven't tried it, but they really nerfed it. Arcane strike damage from 853 down to 596. Arcane blast not so much, but yeah, big nerf there. So I guess they assumed Archon was overpowered. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Was it OP? As far as crafting goes, I noticed that they're giving you more crafting mats for white and blue items. At least there's a chance you'll get more, which I think is pretty cool. I think they just realized no one likes picking up white and blue items. Don't make us pick up so much of them just to craft these items we want to craft, and so I think that's pretty awesome. Overall, it also looks like they're giving a pretty big buff to crafting items. As we know, in the past, crafted items have kind of sucked, so I'm glad that they're buffing that a bit. It might actually be useful. In the item section, there was some pretty cool stuff here. Mostly they're buffing bleed damage, so maybe bleed will actually be useful because bleed's always sucked, but now they're making it do 300 to 400% of your weapon damage over 5 seconds, so it's going to scale with your weapon damage, and it actually looks like it could be pretty good. Maybe people will actually want bleed on their weapon, but we'll have to see. And they also are doing a lot of buffs to two-handed weapons. They're allowing a lot of the stats that rolled the same on one-handers and two-handers to roll double on two-handers. I think they're just still seeing that a lot of people aren't using them, and they want to make them more viable. So I'm excited about that change. The only time I've been using two-handers, even on Reaper of Souls, is when I'm first getting started out on a character and I haven't found a weapon yet. But yeah, they definitely needed a buff, so I think that's pretty good. They made some changes to specific legendaries, mostly just small little tuning changes. You can check these out if you're interested. The one I found pretty interesting was Unity. Now has the power all damage taken is split between wearers of this item, and this ability works on followers. I think it's pretty awesome. I don't know if that's going to be overpowered, if everyone's going to use it. I guess you'd need two unities. I'd love to see how that works, but I thought that was a pretty cool idea and something that'd be fun to play around with. In the monster section, they're changing monster density. It looks like they're taking it down a little bit, which I don't mind, but a lot of people I know are a little spoiled with classic vanilla mob density, and they want monsters in the face all the time. But I think it's good they're tuning that. The one thing I want to mention is all treasure goblins now share the same treasure class and will drop consistently similar things, and they've also added new items to make them more rewarding, similar to Herodric caches. So treasure goblins drop more stuff. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty awesome. On to Reaper of Souls closed beta stuff. Again, I skipped a lot. Read it if you're interested. But general, probably one of the most exciting changes they're making here, a new stash tab, but of course only for people who buy Reaper of Souls, because they gave some reason like, well, there's crafting mats in Reaper of Souls and you have to have somewhere to put them. I'm pretty sure they just want people to buy Reaper of Souls, but either way, I think most of us are buying the expansion, and we'll be excited to have the option to get another tab for our stuff, something that players have been asking for a while, and so I think the developers just said, why not? Let's give it to them. Even after consolidating all the other crafting mats and making it a lot easier to store your stuff, I think in Reaper of Souls, more than in vanilla, there's a lot of items that you might want to hold on to in case you go fire damage later. You want to hold on to all your fire items in case you go cold. So those synergies, I think, not just the elemental damage synergies, but all the synergies really require you to hold on multiple sets of gear. So in that way, it makes sense, but that wasn't the reason they gave. Moving on, adventure mode made some cool changes here. I think I like them, but I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. They're changing rift keystones to rift fragments, or rather, rift fragments are what will drop, and then 5 of them will open the Nephilim Rifts the way that the Rift Keystone used to. But now Horadric caches will drop 2 key fragments. Rift fragments. Bounties will drop Rift fragments as well, but they will not drop Rift fragments on the first bounty. So you can't just like log in the game, do a bounty, get your fragments, log out, go back in. And it will scale. Normal will drop 1, Expert will drop 2, and Master will drop 4. So I thought that was pretty cool. You also have to be present for the bounties now, which I think most people had heard of. You can't just sit in town, or you can't split up and all do your own bounties. You actually have to be there. Some people are complaining about that. I think it's a good change. I think if you're playing with other people, you should be playing with other people. The most optimal way shouldn't be to be playing separately in the same game. But yeah, let me know. If you think I'm wrong, let me know. Class changes, most of these were just the beta stuff, so it's mostly just the new skills. Nothing too exciting here. The Crusader, they made some pretty big changes to shield-based abilities. Damage from shield-based abilities won't be based on block amount anymore. It'll be based on block chance, and it seems like it's a lot lower on the damage based on the percentages. I read through the data mine information before going through this information, and they also mentioned that you won't need a shield for any of the shield abilities. Now, I think most Crusaders pretty much just use shields all the time anyways, but you won't need them, at least according to the data mine information. There wasn't anything in the actual patch notes here. Also, Fist of the Heavens got a pretty huge nerf. No surprise there. This is the skill that everyone uses. Some people would say it's the only skill that's really viable as a resource spender, but it looks like they just wanted to get it more in line with all the other resource spenders the Crusader has. I think some people are worried the Crusader might be a little weak at this point, but that would be a change of pace. The Crusader has been pretty OP in the past. Maybe I'm thinking their goal is to get all of the resource spenders in line with each other first, and then tune the Crusader to the other classes if they feel like he's still a bit underpowered. They've done a lot of balancing as far as the mats you need for both crafting and enchanting. People were having way too much of some mats and not nearly enough of the others. So they kind of balanced it, so you should be getting mats at about the rate that you need them in proportion to each other. Also, crafted items for specific classes will now tend to cost gems that are not associated with that class, which I thought was a really cool idea. This is to give gems that are not commonly utilized by some classes additional uses. So if you're a demon hunter, you might have a bunch of rubies that you're never using, and now you can use them to craft demon hunter gear. I don't know if that's true, but that's an example. I think it's a cool idea because you do end up having a lot of gems that you don't need. Another one of the biggest change, and possibly the change that people are the most upset about, is that legacy items can no longer be enchanted. Now, I'm completely fine with this, but I'll explain why some people are upset. Legacy items are any items that drop before Reaper of Souls. Also, on a side note, they said that because they just implemented this, any items you've gotten before this patch goes live, you also won't be able to enchant, but that's not going to affect Reaper of Souls once it comes out. Once the game comes out, you just can't enchant any of those old vanilla D3 items. And the reason people are upset about that is there's some items like Echoing Fury or Trifecta, Quadfecta items that could be really good even at level 70 that people are currently getting at level 60 once they're enchanted. Once you add like a 300 main stat roll on there, then suddenly those Quadfecta items are pretty good, and they don't want that happening. They want your Reaper of Souls gear to be better than your vanilla D3 gear, and I agree with that. However, I do sympathize for the people that are upset. If I went on the RMAH and spent like 200 bucks trying to gear myself out in awesome Reaper of Souls gear, and they're like, oh, too bad you can't do that, I'd be upset too. So no surprise there that there's some controversy on the forums. A lot of players are asking them to change their mind about it. I don't think they will, and honestly, I think it's a good change. I'm sorry to to everyone who's upset about that. That's about it for the patch notes. The one thing I think I left out is they mentioned Paragon leveling will go much faster in Reaper of Souls than it has in previous patches. I just think they want to make it more worth it at level 70 to grind Paragon than it is at level 60. So my apologies to anyone who's been grinding Paragon at level 60, because I did say it's totally worth it. I don't know how worth it is anymore, but I still think it's not going to be too big of a difference. We'll have to get in there and test it. If you're interested in reading all the patch notes, go ahead and check out the link in the description. There's a few other posts I want to show you guys though before we end this video. Nevilistus made a really cool post here, actually listing all the items that only drop in Torment. This is something I was hoping they would post for a while. We want to know, what's the advantage of playing Torment? Do I really need to play this to get the best items? Turns out no. This is the entire list right here. I don't even see all, but there's class restricted item sets. There's 6 of those, 1 set for each class. There's a couple sets here that are not class restrictive, some follower items, and then these legendary potions. So a good amount of stuff. Gives you a reward for playing Torment, but it's not so punishing that you can only play Torment if you want to get gear. And of course, most players have figured that out by now, because most players are just playing on the lower difficulties. But I thought it was really cool that they put out a list, so I'll have a link to that in the description as well, in case you guys want to check it out. And then the one last thing I want to talk about, as you guys know, last week I was talking to you guys about the Stream Awards that Blizzard and Twitch are doing in a bunch of different categories, and it's over. I didn't win. I think we got 4th place, which was actually not too bad considering I've been streaming recently, so thank you guys for voting. That was really cool. I got about 12% of the votes, but this is the thing I want to point out. If you look through these posts for each category, for example, Best Community Channel got 2,000 views. Favorite Hearthstone, 2,400. StarCraft Stream, 1,400. Favorite WoW Stream, 1,600. Favorite New Streamer, 3,200. Most Educational, 2,500. Favorite Diablo 3 Stream, 13,000! 13,000. Why? Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But assuming that the amount of views is proportional to the amount of votes we got, there were just way more votes for Diablo than any of the other categories. Like, off the charts more, like 3 to 10 times as much as any of the other categories. And so if we were in any other category, we probably would have gotten 1st or 2nd place. So again, thank you guys. That's so awesome that so many of you guys voted for me, and I haven't been streaming. But speaking of that, I feel bad. You guys have said you want some streaming, so I'm going to make sure every week we got a stream. Tomorrow, I'm going to stream for at least a couple hours, play some Reaper of Souls. If you guys want to play something else, we will. But I really want to get into Reaper of Souls and test out some of the things that I've been missing out on. Again, I just haven't had much time to stream, but I miss you guys. So I'm going to try to stream every Saturday, and if I can't stream Saturdays, we'll do a different day. The link to my stream is in the description below, as well as my Facebook. My Facebook is where I post most of my updates, if you want to keep up to date on what I'm doing. So thank you guys for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button, and I'll have another one for you soon. Also, Fist of the Heavens, the skill that everyone used. Gotcha. Also, Fist of the...